like change makers coming together, discussing deeper dimensions of yoga.
So Manish, shuru kare? Or you waiting for somebody more?
Yes, yes. I think with your permission, Patnaik sir, can we begin?
Yeah, let's begin.
Yeah. So over to you, Bhavna.
Yeah, am I audible, Manish?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Namaskar and good evening to all joining us from various parts of India for a very special session celebrating the 7th International Day of Yoga. I am Bhavna Dabhade, President of the Indian Futures. I take this opportunity to welcome you all today on behalf of the Indian Futures. I cannot but begin by hoping you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. Let me at the outset introduce the Indian Futures very briefly. We are a New Delhi-based independent think tank that started out in January 2016 with the sole aim to creating a global platform to plainly and dispassionately discuss in the truest ancient Bharatiya tradition of a samvad, a dialogue, the ideas of New India. We at the Indian Futures seek to go beyond the headlines of the day and have an honest, deep conversation amongst the thinking community in India and abroad. We are extremely proud to have recently hosted some of India's finest minds from the world of government, politics, academia, diplomacy, and culture. Shri Suresh Prabhu, former cabinet minister, Shri Devendra Fadnavis, former CM of Maharashtra, Shri V. Muralidharan, MOS of External Affairs, Dr. Vinay Sahastra Buddhe, President of ICCR, BJP General Secretaries, Shri B.L. Santoshji, Shri Muralidharan Rao, MS Saroj, Mrs. Saroj Pandey, and Shri Ram Madhavji, and Ambassador P.S. Raghavan, Chairman of NSAB, Ambassador Nirupama Menon Rao, Ambassador Kamal Sibbal, and Ambassador Vijay Gokhale, recently retired Foreign Secretaries of India, Ambassador Mohan Kumar, Chairperson RIS, and Professor C. Raja Mohan, Professor Makaran Paranjpe, are just a few I have named here. Other than top brains from different parts of the world, I would like to draw your attention to our very recently held international workshop on Quad in the Indo-Pacific, wherein top strategic minds from Australia, India, Japan, and the US addressed the Indian futures. Before I hand over to Dr. Manish to introduce our very esteemed panelist and the session, I would like to request you to follow us on all social media and such as FB, Twitter, Insta, and YouTube, and feel free to share today's event with the TIF, #TIF Yoga Day. We would welcome that for sure. Kindly put yourself in mute mode too to avoid any distractions in the program. Thanks again to one and all who have joined us here and on YouTube, where we are already live streaming the event. Over to you, Dr. Manish now.
Thank you, Bhavna. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, yes, sir. You're audible.
Yeah, great. So welcome again on behalf of the Indian Futures and Cities for Peace to today's very special panel discussion on yoga in action, transforming individuals and communities. Let me begin by introducing a very special assemblage of guests that have joined us today evening. We have with us, and we're extremely fortunate to have with us Ambassador Dinesh Patnaik as the chief guest for today's evening. He is currently the Director General in the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. He's a career diplomat of the Indian Foreign Service with experience of over 25 years in a variety of very interesting, very significant assignments, very challenging assignments. He has served in the Indian missions in Geneva, Dhaka, Beijing, Vienna, at headquarters. Very importantly, he has served as in Europe West, external publicity, Africa, and UN divisions. He was very significantly India's ambassador to Cambodia, India's ambassador to the Kingdom of Morocco, and a very diplomatic, a very important assignment as the Deputy High Commissioner of India to London from 2016 and 18. He was Additional Secretary, Indian Ocean Region from November 2018 to 19, and thereafter Additional Secretary CPV and Overseas Indian Affairs from 2019 to 2020 in the Ministry of External Affairs. Truly, Namaskar, sir. We welcome you for our program, and it's really an honor to have you with us today. And knowing that it's a very as you were mentioning earlier, a very tight weekend and also International Day of Yoga today. So very busy schedule. Thanks again for kindly agreeing to speak with us today as the chief guest. We are equally delighted to have with us Ms. Mariko Harikawa with us. She is a multi-talented personality and international best-selling author of the book, The Yoga of Personal Development. She has been a yoga instructor and practitioner for the past 28 years and is a trained Ayurvedic practitioner with a Bachelor's of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery degree program at Gujarat's Ayurveda University, in fact, which is one of the top Ayurvedic universities in India. So thank you, Mariko ji, for joining us today evening. And she's joining, she's based in New York, but right now in Spain, and really has been very kind to really break her holiday and join us, work and holiday both, and join us for our program today. We are equally honored to have Mr. Jeremy Gray with us. Jeremy is an American politician, a rising American star, a fitness instructor, a yoga teacher, and a retired football player, serving as a member of the Alabama, very importantly, Alabama House of Representatives from the 83rd District since November 2018. A very important contribution which we all should celebrate is that Jeremy has worked to in fact lift a ban on yoga in Alabama schools. So thanks, Jeremy, for really joining us, taking the time out and being with us today. Let me now introduce, in fact, Mandar Apte. Mandar, in fact, is the co-host for the program today. He is the executive director of Cities for Peace, a strategic initiative of the Art of Living Foundation that works to actively promote peace in cities and communities worldwide. He has worked at Shell for 17 years and trained over 2,000 colleagues at Shell in yoga meditation. In 2016, Mandar produced the From India with Love documentary film to reinvigorate the message of non-violence or ahimsa in the world. For nearly 2 decades, Mandar has taught leadership programs using yoga and meditation practices for the Art of Living Foundation. So thank you, Mandar, for really coming up with this idea actually to collaborate. It's entirely his brainchild, and thanks to him that we have really stars from the US who have joined us today. We are here obviously celebrating the International Day of Yoga, and let me just give you a slice of history, very importantly, and why and how this day came into being. This was via a resolution, UN General Assembly Resolution 69/131, adopted on 11th December 2014. And please remember that this was co-sponsored by 175 countries out of 193. That's a huge support. That shows the international appeal of yoga, and again, not of a recent vintage, but across years and years. That's so important. And again, the resolution, very importantly, and I'm quoting, within quotes, noting the importance of individuals and populations making healthier choices and following lifestyle patterns that foster good health, unquote. And also, quoting again, recognizing that yoga provides a holistic approach to health and well-being. Mind you, this is all in the UN General Assembly resolution. That's fantastic. And I'm sure, I have just begun understanding the significance of yoga. And in fact, today's Prime Minister's address today morning, I think he raised a couple of very important issues which are so important to each one of us individually and even collectively. That ultimately, yoga is about self-realization. It is about self-actualization, in his own words, in the PM's words. And again, what he essentially said, and which is why we are here, is that the Indian goal of taking yoga abroad, and we have with us Ambassador Dinesh Patnaik to guide us, to address us, is really one world, one health, and how yoga se sahyog. I think that should be the mantra which should be driving us all, that it is ultimately about realizing not just ourselves as individuals, but also collectively as societies, as nations. And I think with this I'll stop here. And we really have I mean, I just couldn't think of any other person than Ambassador Dinesh Patnaik to really guide us, to tell us what exactly is ICCR thinking about, and how India sees the soft power, how India really wants this message of peace and non-violence, about health for all, to be taken internationally, globally. So with this, I now invite Ambassador Dinesh Patnaik to deliver his chief guest address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Manish. That was very kind of you. And I wish all participants here a happy International Day of Yoga. I don't know if all of you have already done your yoga session in the morning, but I personally have done it in the morning, and I've been doing it for the last 2 days because most of our countries across the world do it on the weekend before. And so they did it on a Saturday and Sunday. So I've been doing yoga from New Zealand to Mexico, right across. So that takes quite some doing. But Manish said very clearly it was 2014 that Prime Minister Modi got us to pass the resolution in the UN. And since then, yoga has become a major event, a global phenomenon worldwide. It's not that yoga was not famous before that, but what the International Day of Yoga did is focused activity on yoga. And most important, it made people realize that yoga comes from India. And that is what his main thing was, because a lot of people did yoga but did not know its origins. And to a large extent, Prime Minister Modi put the focus back on the fact that this is a 5,000-year-old tradition in India, put into text 2,000 years ago by Patanjali. But basically, that was the whole idea, and he did it. And yoga has become so popular over the years that today more than 300 million people across the world do yoga. And the increase is very rapid. I mean, it's growing at about 50% every year. So you're looking at it exponentially growing. And especially during the time of the pandemic, yoga has actually grown in the last 1.5 years. One of the few things which has grown rapidly in the last 1.5 years. And many, many reasons we can talk about it. But one of the main things is, of course, the fact that yoga is very easy to do. It's a low impact exercise. So whether you are old, you are young, or you're fat, or like me, or slim, like probably Mariko and others around here, or Jeremy, you do yoga easily. Yoga is such an exercise which does not need you to be in top fitness. So you can do it whether you're young or old. So it makes life easier when you have to do it. And it does not need much space. And it does not need elaborate equipment. So you can do it at home, online, with a teacher, with trainer. So online it's gone a lot. And the very fact that people have understood its benefits. I mean, all of us know its benefits. Two of the biggest benefits has been the benefits it has on the musculoskeletal system and the benefits it has on mental health systems. Most musculoskeletal, it is known, and scientists and studies have shown that it decreases inflammation, which is one of the most important things, and reduces chronic pain. These are things very important. And Jeremy, I can see him nodding. This is exactly what it is necessary for a health fitness. You need inflammation and chronic pain to go away, because those are very important things for stopping you from developing yourselves. But during the pandemic, it's the effect on mental health which has become very, very important. And like we were discussing some time back, Mariko was saying that we are, at the end, humans are social creatures. And we love interacting. We love talking to each other. We love sitting down, eating, having a drink, going out. And this pandemic has stopped that to a large extent. And more than that, when you sit at home and they're worried about your jobs, your economic future, death of near and dear ones, people who are close to you, and stuck within four walls, it has a huge mental health issues that is happening today. Anxiety, depression, stress is increasing everywhere. And at this time, yoga is one of the few exercises which not only has a physical benefit, it has a huge mental benefit. It is seen very easily. It reduces stress, reduces depression, alleviates anxiety, relieves anxiety, and makes you feel much better. And that's the reason yoga has become how do you call it, an important aspect that has grown in this last 1 year. And also the fact that one of the essential ingredients of yoga is pranayama, which is the breathing exercises. And I can vouch for the fact, and it's a testimony to the fact, that pranayama actually helps your lung capacity grow better. I have recovered from COVID, and I can tell you, while I was down there and when I did my lung exercise, I realized pranayama has helped me really have my lungs in a situation where I could take care of COVID much better. So all these put together, yoga has become more popular now. And that is something all of us are testimony to that fact. But I want to go back to what Manish said, and this is important because Manish said that I should speak on how yoga has soft power. And, to a large extent, I agree and disagree with that thing. I agree because it's good for India, a good image for India. It makes Indians look good abroad. I disagree because yoga essentially is not about power relationship. It is not a power factor. It is more of a relationship factor. It is about putting people together. It's not some commodity or resource that we have that we can control by not giving it to you. It is for everybody to have. It is free for everybody. When everybody can have it, in fact, I keep on telling everybody that if you look at any activity in the world, the most democratic activity has been yoga for years and years, centuries and centuries. It's common people who have been doing it all across the world. And even today. So how do you derive power from something which everybody can partake? Power can only come out of scarcity. When you do not want to give it to somebody, you hold the IP rights, for example, the intellectual property rights or something to yoga. So then power comes into play. This is not about power. This is about building relationships across the world. And that is important because if you look at it also closely, yoga is not a competitive sport. It's not competition. You don't compete with each other. It's not about beautiful poses. Do I make the better pose or do I make the less pose? It is about actually competing with yourselves. You're competing every day. Every day you feel better than what you felt the day before. And every day you realize you're more flexible than earlier. And then you see the benefits every day. That makes you continue, go on. And it keeps you at peace with yourself, harmony with yourselves, harmony with nature. And that's what it basically was. And that is important because like B.K.S. Iyengar said, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. So essentially yoga was something which is easy to do for everybody. And that's the reason over the years, yoga has become a popular thing and it has lasted 5,000 years. I cannot name a single activity in the world which has lasted for 5,000 years and unchanged. And yoga is one of them. But going back to the soft power thing, the government of India has realized that there are two things about yoga which is important. One is the health benefits, of course. When we have a large population like ours, 1.2 billion plus, with limited resources, prevention becomes better than cure. If you are going to do curative, you have to build large number of hospitals. We have seen what has happened with COVID. We've seen with all communicable diseases, with all lifestyle diseases. Diabetes is on the increase, heart, hypertension, all things are on the increase. People, as they become more developed, there are different lifestyle diseases which come. And India, as a country with limited resources and a large population, needs something which can actually be a health benefit to everybody. And yoga is a preventive thing. It is seen as preventing a large number of lifestyle diseases if you do it. Unfortunately, many of us see yoga as only gym related, and to large extent till about 10 years back, not even 10, 7, 8 years back, yoga was seen as a exotic and lifestyle, exclusive thing. Only celebrities do it. Celebrities go and show yoga. It's only the rich who do it. It was then that in India, the revolution took place and across the world when people like Baba Ramdev, we can talk about him for many other things, but one of the greatest things he's done is that he's taken yoga to the masses. And similarly, thousands of people across the continent and across Europe and across Latin America and across in Japan, Korea, took to yoga very, very simply. They took yoga, not the yoga as in the yoga Patanjali, but the posture-based yoga, the yoga which gave you lifestyle management. So if you look at yoga, there are 8 parts of the Astanga yoga. You have Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. The whole idea of yoga was to actually teach you how to become one with yourselves. So you start with the good intentions, the morals, the ethics, the good behavior, and then you do the asanas, which get your body ready. Then you do the pranayama, which makes you aware of your breath and your life. Then you do pratyahara, which combines both of them. Then you go to dhyana and dharana, which gets your mind to think about yourselves inside, concentration, meditation. And then you go into samadhi, where you actually join with yourselves, when you and nature become one. That is the whole yoga. But most of the people in the West took the yoga, which is the more physical version of the yoga. But the spiritual version of the yoga is also very, very strong. And here I'm getting into the spiritual version, because there is a lot of people, and I know Jeremy would know, and Mariko would know, and many others here, that there is a feeling that yoga has some semi-religious activity. There are people who have been saying that yoga, and it is not true, because yoga was never semi-religious. They say, you do all these prayers and chanting, and you say Om, and so this is all religious. And you have to explain to people that all this was because yoga grew up in India for 2000 years. It didn't grow up in the West. If it had grown up in the West, we would be saying something else. The milieu that it grew up in, it took the words from that milieu, but it had no religious activity, because if you look at it in the past 2000 or 5000 years, no single emperor or king ever made yoga mandatory. No religion made yoga mandatory. Nobody ever said that you have to be Hindu only to do yoga. You can be an atheist, you can be secular, you can be any religion. Nothing ever says you have to be this to do yoga. Or it doesn't even say that if you are that, you cannot do this. That if you're Christian, you cannot do yoga. Nothing. Yoga is for everybody. It's a way of life. It's like the Hindu religion itself. It's a way of life. It's a way, it teaches you to be one with yourselves, to be one with nature, it teaches you kindness. It's all the good things of life. How can you say no to that? It just makes you feel good about yourselves and good about your people around you, good about your neighbors. It calms you down. It makes you a very essential part of society. We need people like that, who are yogiks, who become a part of society, where they become really assets to the society, rather than people who are debilitating to the society. And so this is something which India needs. And so one of the few things that we looked at is our health system. How can we do a health system? So we set up the Ministry of Ayush. We probably are the only one country in the world which has a ministry for yoga. But the reason between the Ministry of Yoga is to be able to divert your resources to the propagation of yoga. That is number one. But the other thing is to do studies and research on yoga, so that you can then show the benefits of yoga in a scientific and research manner. Because ultimately, people have a scientific bent of mind. They realize the benefits through experience. If not, it would not have lasted 5,000 years. It has lasted 5,000 years because people realize the benefits through experience. When it went to the West, every fad has come and gone in the West. But this has survived because people see the benefits themselves. When you see the benefits yourselves, you don't. But still, at the end of the day, you need a scientific basis for the benefits. So we needed a ministry which could do research, which could do studies, and which could see how lifestyle management is a part of what yoga does. So this was the reason why we did it. Soft power or no soft power, that's a different matter. Like I said, you cannot have power in a thing which you share with everybody. But for us in India, as Prime Minister Modi said, it's a gift of India to mankind. And when you give a gift, you don't attach conditions to it. You don't say, okay, this is a gift, this is how you're going to use it. You give a gift because everybody can use it. And when everybody can use it, that is a relationship we built. Today we have relationships across the world. It's nice to see Jeremy, Mariko, Manish, Mandar, Bhavna, all of them across the world. Different people united by this one thing that we all share, a passion for life, a passion for making life better, and all of us yogis at the end of the day. So I wish that this conference really goes into depth. I'm waiting to listen to all of you. And I'm glad the India Future is doing such activities. It's important because at the end of the day, we all need to discuss. And like we said, we are social creatures. And unless we can talk to each other and listen to each other, we'll probably degenerate. So the online format has helped us talk to each other and at least see each other. Sometimes, for months, you don't see anybody around you. Thankfully, the world is in a better place today. And I'm very optimistic that in the next 1 or 2 months, we should be back to normal. We have dealt with worse calamities than this. The world wars, the Spanish flu, the smallpox, the plague. I mean, they wiped out more people than ever before. This has not done anything. This has just created blimp. So we will get out of it, and all of us together, we will do it. So keep safe and all the best. And thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Ambassador Patnaik. I think that was a very brilliant, comprehensive overview of the Yoga Day, of the International Day of Yoga. And as you rightly pointed out, and you that is how you began, that ultimately it was Prime Minister Modi's idea to really put focus back on India as the origin of yoga. Yoga has been practiced in, as you rightly pointed out, for years, for decades in different parts of the world. I think that's a very important point which we all need to remember repeatedly. Also, the fact that ultimately yoga is, in your words, exponentially growing, more popular now. And again, I think pandemic really hit hard many of us, each one of us. For some it was in our family, but at personal level, I think all of us have lived through stress, and I think the effect on mental health has been very important. And in fact, that is exactly what in fact Prime Minister Modi was suggesting, that yoga really moves us away from stress to strength. I think that is a very important point we all need to maybe recollect and reflect on. Also, and I do concede here that you should not see yoga as something like a soft power. It is actually a global good. I mean, that is a very important, I think, point which you made. And again, that what really and again, that's in fact whatever I've been reading and interacting, the larger it seems to be more of a lifestyle management issue rather than mental health. I mean, if you share that message, that it is really about personal, it is really, as you ended, that it is really about a passion for life. That is what yoga teaches us. So thank you, Ambassador Patnaik, again for that brilliant address. We are so fortunate that you found time to be with us. Thank you again. So with this, I now request Mariko Hirakawa to please address us. We are eagerly waiting to hear a very transformational story from Mariko. Over to you, Mariko.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dinesh ji. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be a part of your panel. And as I was listening to you, I really, I started out as, and I want to actually first also thank you for ICCR, because it was due to ICCR that I was able to spend almost 7 years living in India as a student of Ayurvedic medicine based on my Japanese citizenship. And I think, it is such a universal thing, both yoga and Ayurveda. And yes, it comes from India, but it is because the rishis of India had such a universal, they had a genius, they had access to this universal, just infinite intelligence that they were able to channel into their being through their amazing tapasya. And it is really channel knowledge. And so yoga and Ayurveda is not a man-made science. It is divine in nature. And that is why it has the power to, transform human consciousness. And I think it is the ultimate technology, really. And even it is thousands of years old, and it is also thousands of years futuristic. That is my feeling, is that we are right now globally at a transitional point where the new world order is emerging. And I think being in touch with something like yoga, a technology like yoga, which has the power to up-level our nervous system, our consciousness, which is really the only healing power in the world, is consciousness with a capital C. And that is what yoga, the root of yoga is the Sanskrit word yojana, right? Yuj, that is the root. And yojana means to yoke, to unite, to harness. And it is such a multifaceted word in that sense. Within individual, we are yoking our mind and our senses, our breath, and following that all the way back to the source, back to the Atman. And that is really the inner meaning of yojana. But it is also about the yoking of, communities and nations, breaking down the barrier and seeing and realizing that we are all consciousness. First of all, we're consciousness embodied as human beings living, walking this planet Earth. And so I think it is time for us to upgrade, the beautiful Sanskrit saying, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, that every nation is like a room in this massive house that is planet Earth. And we need to, behave like that. And we need to break down that social barrier. And even just looking at the word religion, religion comes from the word religioso, which means to relink back. So even the root word of religion, which can seem like a dividing force, if we look at the very root etymology of that word, it has the same meaning as yojana, which is to relink with the original source. And so we need to really go back to the original spirit. I really feel so. Living in the West and teaching yoga, I see all kinds of, modifications of yoga, and it's wonderful. It's the creativity and many different styles of yoga. That is wonderful because diversity is, inherent in this amazing world. But I feel some forms of yoga, I feel, is so much about the acrobatics of yoga that it sometimes takes us away from the original essence. And so I want to, I'm a stand really for yoga is not just fitness, while the fitness aspect of yoga is tremendous, because it was born out of the Kundalini awakening of the sages. Poses like Dhanurasana, Matsyasana, Garudasana, all these poses, I have experienced myself that the body can spontaneously enter that when the Kundalini Shakti is rising through the, Sushumna Nadi, the chakras, and we are, it automatically, the bandhas and the asanas happen. And because of that, doing the physical practice of hatha yoga has the power to awaken that power, and it has amazing healing power, because Kundalini is the most, intelligent power in the universe. And so really looking at, when you look at yoga from this perspective, that it's not, it is beyond religion, it is beyond, and the health benefits are almost like, it is almost like a side benefit, I should say. And when I first came across yoga, I was a professional ballet dancer in New York City. And I thought, I had all my life since I was a girl, I just wanted to, become a professional ballet dancer. I was just mesmerized by just when I saw a performance when I was about age 3. And when I attained that goal, I was kind of shocked to find that it wasn't it. It was every day I was ending my day with applause from the darkened audience. And it felt good for, first few months. But after a while, I realized that I just started to wonder, is this the purpose of my life? Am I living for these few moments of applause from an anonymous audience? And I started to feel this restless discontent, and this voice of what is my purpose? What is my purpose for being on this planet became so strong. It became an obsession. And as I pursued this obsession, I realized that, one day I just decided not to go to yoga class, but to the dance classes that I did every day. But when I turned the corner, I just found by pure chance this yoga studio. And what caught me was the sign on the door that said, within you is an ocean of potential. And it just intrigued me. And I didn't even know that it was a yoga studio, but I just walked because I felt like it was a message. And I was, on this quest for what is my purpose. And it happened to be a yoga class. And I entered that. And I love the fact there were no mirrors in that studio. And I just did the practice. I love the introverted. As a dancer, I'm always, trying to project out. But yoga allowed me to move within. And I realized that this body that I thought I knew so well as a dancer, there was an entire new dimension that I did not know, which was this subtle sukshma sharir, which we call in yogic language, the subtle anatomy. And in shavasana, when I relaxed, I experienced this scintillating pulsation, and it was so blissful. And I saw this amazing blue flashes, like electric blue, just kind of throbbing in my space between my brows. And I asked the teacher, like, did you drug me? I thought there was something in the water or something. I said, what's in the drink you gave me? She said, no, it's, and I said, what is this experience I'm having? And she pointed to the altar and she said, it must be the grace of the guru. And immediately a red flag went up, because I thought, guru was not what I was searching for. But when I looked at the face in the photo, it was the photo of Guru Mai Chidvilasananda, who is the disciple of Swami Muktananda. Her eyes just had this pure emanation of tremendous compassion and love and connection with something deeply mysterious that I was so drawn to. So I decided to get a one-way ticket to upstate New York. And I could not believe that she lived just 2 hours outside of New York. And so I went and experienced, and I had all kinds of concepts about what would be an ashram. I thought maybe it would be like a zendo because of my Japanese heritage. I thought maybe everybody is walking around in just plain clothes. But when I arrived, it was like this convention center with like slick glass elevator doors and computers, and everybody was dressed to the nine because it was 4th of July. And so I immediately started to judge the whole place, and I thought, this is a mistake. I have to go back. This is not what I expected. But before I could get on the ride back, the elevator door opened and this being just walked in, who was not very tall, not very large physical frame, but the energy she carried with her was like a Himalayan mountain of silence. And the entire place that was so animated and so, buzzing with conversation just became pin drop silence. And she seemed to glide, not even walk, from place to place. And much to my surprise, she just came and just stood right in front of me and looked deep into my eyes. And she said in her very deep voice, "So you just arrived?" Like this. And I thought, what a question. Of course I just arrived. That would have been my egoic response. But the place from which she was speaking to was so deep. And it is said when an enlightened being speaks, every word is like a mantra, and in that moment, I just lost my individuality, just dissolved. And I just didn't know what was happening, but I just opened in like a tears flooding out of my being. And I just felt she was saying, you just arrived. I've been waiting for you for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. You've been seeking in so many different ways this experience of yoga, truly merging with the infinite. And I realized, this is yoga. This is yoga. This burst, this individual drop bursting and becoming the ocean that I got to experience. I think that experience lasted for hours, and I was buzzing with bliss the whole time. But and it was July 4th, Independence Day, and I'll never forget this because it's really the day of freedom. And I felt I was being shown what true freedom is. And this is what the yoga texts, the Shastras say. There's 4 aims to human life, right? There is artha. We have to have some form of wealth, and wealth is also our relationships, as Dinesh was saying. It is our relationships, it is our emotional wealth, it is our intellectual wealth, it is our creativity, as well as our roof over our head and the material wealth. And then there is kama, fulfillment of your heart's deepest desires. And then there is dharma, which is walking your purpose, living your purpose. Dharma comes from the word dhr, which means to upholding universal laws, right? Upholding universal laws is dharma. And then swadharma is using your unique gifts of talent, skills, and experiences to serve that universal purpose. And then lastly, moksha, right? Liberation. Finally, we can detach from, the times, maybe eventually, hopefully, go beyond the 3D. But moksha is really the ultimate goal of both yoga, Ayurveda, and all the Vedic, sciences and arts. And so I felt I was given that experience, the direct experience of the state in which these beings are living in. And yoga is really a heritage, a human heritage, not just for India, but you're all lucky that you're from India, that, I believe what has held India together for, as the largest democracy in the entire planet Earth is because of this, legacy of the rishis, their power, and also this thousands of years of beings striving, right, with everything they have for moksha. When I stepped on, when I go to places like Rishikesh or Benares, I can really feel this burning desire of the humanity, right? Thousands of beings who have walked with such a passion, this, with bhakti, going for the highest. This is, I think, India's greatest gift to humanity, because we're here to grow and evolve. And when you meditate, when you do yoga on the mat, and when you meditate, everything that is against evolution, all the old patterns, that is the things that block us from evolving, it falls away. And everything that is evolutionary is amplified and highlighted and upgraded. And that is why, there's not just the hatha yoga, but yoga means there's many, many different types of yoga, right? There's that bhakti yoga, which is, you don't need to have a mat. It's that burning, devotion. And there's also karma yoga, something that, Mr. Mandarji is so amazing at, just activism and inspiring others and really reaching out with such selfless intent. This is karma yoga. And then there's also the Nyana yoga, inquiry, atma vichara, inquiring, who am I? What am I? What are the tendencies that are holding me back? Doing a self-inquiry on a regular basis. Right? That is also great yoga that must accompany yoga on the mat. Right? And hatha yoga is just a branch of Raja yoga. The yoga that we know as yoga, those asanas, are really developed by the sages to help us sit longer in meditation. So Raja yoga is that, it's called Raja because it's the direct path. It's the direct path because in meditation, you have the direct experience of the oneness. And so that gives us, direct experience is, when you have direct experience, you don't need to believe. So many religions focus on belief, and people fight about beliefs. This is right, and this is right, and this is the way. And no, you're not your way, but my way. And this is all delusion, right? When you have the direct experience, there is no question. When you have the direct experience of your inner self with a capital S, the experience of yoga with a capital Y, there is no question left, because it is so powerful and you're just like speechless, And so that's the gift of yoga. Yoga, the teaching of yoga is have that direct experience and, really let that be your North Star. You don't need to believe, you can just experience on a daily basis and put in a sincere effort towards that. And that is, I think, in Kashmir Shaivism, there's a beautiful aphorism that says, Utyamo Bhairava, effort, right effort is divine. Right effort itself is God, and so we can just strive forward towards that. And so even though you can't go out, you can't go to, restaurants and cafes and yoga studios, we can still put forth our best effort, prayatna, and attain so much. This pandemic time, when you are in lockdown, can be the greatest time of progress, of evolution, because we have to cultivate that discipline. And so, if you reframe it as such, this can be such an amazing time of growth for us, and really taking our understanding of yoga to a whole new level, beyond the mat, beyond exercise, beyond fitness. It's not just physical. It is about upgrading our consciousness and becoming human 2.0 and 3.0. And I think that is really, I think that soft power is, I was thinking about that, and, power is Shakti, right, in Sanskrit. And so when we think about power, English word power, we think about like overpowering others, and it's an ego thing. But when we think of the word Shakti, we think about, it is truly because Shakti is Divine Mother. And so it's immediately, Shakti is that soft power of, dissolving boundaries. And you see, every great yogi is a very humble person. the greatest of the yogi, they're so humble. And what's so disarming about these yogis like Shri Ravi Shankar, like, Ammachi, they're so humble. And that is their power, right? Their humility is because they really experience that power from moment to moment. And so I think that, we can really
Mariko ji, can you please conclude? I mean, if that's, please conclude.
Yes, of course. We will, I think that it is a great time for really upgrading our understanding of yoga to a whole new level as the new world order emerges. It's a great opportunity for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Mariko. I think you really took us all to a really different level of understanding about what yoga means for all of us, but especially you. I think your journey really captures this whole transformation from a pure individual to a larger collective. So thank you so much. It was a brilliant, journey which you all described to all of us in so loving detail. Thank you so much. With this, now I call request Jeremy over to you, Jeremy.
Oh, thank you for having me. Mariko, that was a great presentation. I'm long-winded as well, so I'm gonna do this slide presentation where I can stay on track and kind of talk about some things that inspired me to actually be involved in yoga. My yoga experience is a little bit different because I did play sports. I grew up a 3-sport athlete. I went to college. I played in the professional rankings, and for me, it was just different anyway because I come from an impoverished community, and so a lot of times in an impoverished community, you don't learn about things like yoga in America, and so playing sports really allowed me to actually get into the physical part of yoga. So here I am in Canada, and we're just finishing a yoga session with a yoga instructor. And I did it more for like longevity, inflammation, all of those things that great athletes like, your Tom Brady, your LeBron James, they accredit yoga for longevity. And so as I kind of started getting to my yoga journey, because I didn't know, growing up, no one taught me what yoga was, or even, being plant-based or vegan. So I'm both now, right? And so part of that journey was I became an instructor. So once I became an instructor and I started really to get into the essence of yoga, I started to learn about Kundalini and the chakras, and I would meditate for hours trying to find enlightenment and just reading about the Indian culture. And so that's what really pivoted me to become a better yogi. That's why I changed my diet. A lot of the things that I've been able to do was because of me actually learning the essence of yoga, the breathing, all of the things that it kind of goes along with yoga. And that's what really triggered my mind. At first, for me, it was just an exercise, right? It was something that my coach wanted us to do. And he said we could play for a long time doing it. But once I became a practitioner, I started actually teaching it, and I started digesting it. I wanted to be all about yoga. And so this is my community center right here. We teach, I'm an African American, guy, male, and in the African American community, a lot of times we don't teach our kids about yoga, stress, anxiety, trauma, any of those things. So here's my community center. It's called the Curtis House, and we hold yoga on Saturday. So we just did a yoga event this past Saturday. It was a walk and run event, and we do yoga, meditation, and exercise in the end, and then we did a little massage. And so you can see there's adults, you can see there's, black, white, there's children. We're all coming together in harmony to practice yoga. And so you can see here, we have kids actually first time ever doing it, right? Through the community center and just being at peace, having clarity. Some of them even wanted their own mat. So we make sure that they have mats as well. And it's all about, to me, embracing yourself, having clarity, having union within yourself. And so since I've learned it, I want to kind of share it with everyone, right? And so this is my way of sharing it with everyone, especially those most vulnerable who really need it. if you didn't know, in 2018, I was elected. My first year in, I introduced the yoga bill. And the premises of me introducing the bill is actually I was at a high school and I was just there for civic engagement, just talking about my political position. And yoga came up. And I found out it was banned in 1993 in Alabama. I had no idea, right? You know, in 1993, I may have been 7 or 8 years old. So I had no idea that it was banned in Alabama public schools. So I went and basically made it my business to try to get yoga passed in Alabama. It was tough. It was hard. Sometimes, I thought it was a never ending climb to the top of a mountain, right? And so in 2019, I actually introduced the bill and they said, this is the most ridiculous bill ever. It got laughed down by all my colleagues. And I was like, well, I didn't think it was that bad because everybody does yoga, whether it's athletes, they do it in churches, they do it everywhere, right? I just thought that maybe in 1993, it was a little confused or something, right? And so I just thought that I could bring this bill, it would pass, and I would be commended and congratulated, but that didn't happen. And so I went through this process of trying to get this bill passed. After the bill failed in 2019, I actually built a coalition of physicians and teachers and counselors and everyone in Alabama who kind of was advocates of yoga. And we reached out to all the elected officials. We called everyone. And in 2020, the next session, I was able to get it passed through the House of Representatives, 83 yeses and 17 noes. But due to COVID, the bill never advanced to the Senate. So that was another delay. And so in 2021, March 11, 2021, I passed the yoga bill again. And this time I got 73 yeses and 25 noes. And then the bill went to the Senate. And on May 6, 2021, at about 10:36 p.m., the bill passed in the Senate with amendments, but it passed 23-9 in favor of the bill. And then on the last day of session, May 17, 2021, the bill came back to the House, and I had to basically concur with the amendments because it was the last day of session. If you don't kind of really know how the political world works, or how what it takes to pass a bill, well, if I pass a bill in the House and it goes to the Senate, if it doesn't come back the same, then it has to come back to the House to be concurred on. And so on May 20 of 2021, Kate Ivey actually signed the bill maybe 3 days later. And on the topping, kind of the topping on the cake was the press secretary actually signed off the press release with namaste. And reason she did that is more because a part of the bill, a lot of my colleagues, I'm in a very much red conservative state. Christianity rules, and to most of my colleagues and most of the people who are very conservative in Alabama, they see yoga as a religion, which we know it is not, but it's hard to actually teach people the correct way or just educate them about the essence of yoga, right? Once that's in your mind, that cognitive dissonance kind of, it's in your mind, and you're just very much dedicated to whatever you believe. And so the bill, it can be offered in grades K through 12. Students have the ability to opt out. The school board of education really sets and determines, how yoga will look in each school. So each school is different. And at the end, there are some restrictions. I don't agree with the restrictions, but you have to understand that this is Alabama, the most conservative state in the nation. And so for me, just being able to get the bill passed was a pure miracle. And so I'll continue to work on the bill. I'll continue to flesh out some of the language and make it more pleasable to me, and then my Indian friends. But we have to understand that this was about vulnerable children, right? That see violence, see crime. They don't have food, and I thought that this was a way that they could have self-care. something that they could take home with them. And so that was really my mission, right? I understand that it could have been better, but at the end of the day, this is a step in the right direction. And so some of the people I got to meet along the way was the Council General. She came to Alabama, actually to the State House, and gifted me a Gandhi piece. And I thought that was a very cool experience. So, you think you're doing something for kids in Alabama, but then you understand that it not only went national, it went international, right? And so it just kind of like the commitment to understanding that you are doing something fruitful and people see that you're doing it. And I also was able to appear on MSNBC to talk about the 27-year ban. And so my experience with yoga has been very much that it has transformed me, but it's also lit a fire in me to transform others. And so one thing that as I've been able to pass this bill, we're going to have a pro-growth conference, maybe starting on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And one part of the conference, I get to do yoga, right? I get to do breathing, meditation. And so it's kind of funny where you start in 2019 and everyone is against yoga, and then you get in 2021 and it's like it's been a paradigm shift. So I'm just really glad and proud to be a part of the process. I think this is a great panel. I've learned so much, and I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
Great, Jeremy. Thank you so much. I think this was so heartwarming to see that you have really put in your entire, political capital to really make yoga. And this is so, I wish this was known to many of us much earlier, but this is great. I think we are deeply honored that we have in you someone who really believes in the transforming power of yoga, and not thinking only about individual oneself, but really taking it to a much larger level, to a much larger society. So it's really great work. Congratulations, and we are so proud of you. Thank you so much. With this, I now call the star of the show, actually, and the one who really came up with this idea, Mandar. Over to you, Mandar, without wasting a single second.
I'm speechless. My friends Mariko ji and Jeremy ji, I'm so honored to have known you for a few years. Tracking back to about 2018, I met Mariko ji in the Bay Area. And Jeremy, I met you on Twitter, and I was fascinated by your activism, and I reached out to you, which I do most of the times, because I feel this change making is a very lonely process. It's a very lonely world, and sometimes you also run out of your steam, and that is where we need each other. Yeah, so thank you for everything that you are doing. And I'm just going to read some context of the Yoga Day, which most people don't know, but through this, I'm going to bring greetings from my Gurudev, Shri Ravi Shankar. The idea of a World Yoga Day was endorsed by yoga gurus for the first time in 2011. A proclamation for having the UN declare 21st June was signed and sent by leading yoga gurus of India on December 5th, 2011. The statement said, there is a World Toilet Day, but not a World Yoga Day. So we have today written to the UN to recognize June 21, summer solstice, as World Yoga Day. So, this process started in 2011, and it's an honor to represent the tradition of India. And I call it not power, but empower. It empowers you. This technology empowers anybody that comes and tastes that technology. Keeping my presentation very short, I would like to focus on, my calling over the last 5 years has been to take the power of yoga meditation and the gift of inner peace that I have received from my guru and the lineage of the Indian tradition to communities that need it the most. And this includes individuals that have experienced violence in their life. And the violence could be bullying in schools, domestic abuse, it could be terrorism. Any kind of violence leaves an impression about, hatred towards society, or a feeling of why did it happen to me? And it is a news flash of the day. For that day, it becomes a news flash, whether you are in a small town, Alabama, or the whole world if you're on CNN. And then the world moves on to the other events. But what happens to the victims of violence? And that for me was a key moment of truth that, oh my God, if tomorrow, sadly, I am a victim of violence, who's going to look after me? And that made me realize that we have to bring this gift of inner peace, light, wisdom, love to the people who need it the most. And so that with my guru's blessings, we have started this initiative called Cities for Peace, where we don't wait for an act of violence. Yeah, when an act of violence happens, most people will express compassion. Oh no, it should not have happened. Maybe we will give flowers, we will give a hug. That means that compassion is our nature. Compassion is part of our humanity. We just wait for an act of violence to express it, to show it. So I'm going to share a small video, and that would be the presentation on my behalf, is a story. Because stories engage people. And this story is about a community in South Central Los Angeles, which is also referred as the gang capital of the world. And this was an effort made to unite the community members and the police officers, an issue that is brewing in America. But both sides are traumatized, is what I realized when I went and walked the streets of Los Angeles. Everybody there is traumatized. And so they come together in the spirit of healing their trauma. And what happens when we heal the trauma is love is our nature. We want to spread love. That is our purpose in life. That is the highest purpose, is to promote peace. So I'm going to share my screen if I'm able to, and just we'll watch this short video that will tell you. You're able to hear?
I'm an ex-gang member, so I was bred into violence. It was terrible around here, because that's what we live for, violence.
We just knew violence. When someone did something wrong to me, my reaction was to do something violent.
In collaboration with the Los Angeles Police Department and the Mayor's Office for Gang Reduction and Youth Development, the Cities for Peace initiative of the Art of Living Foundation and the International Association for Human Values facilitated the Nonviolence Ambassador Certification Program for the Harvard Park neighborhood in South Los Angeles that had experienced high rates of violence in the past. We invited LAPD police officers, community members, and former gang members who work as community intervention activists to participate in the program.
It's like the weight is being lifted off your back when you come from this experience. We carry a heavy load when we do community intervention work, and this lightens that load 100%.
Now my reaction is to forgive and say, you know what, maybe I can help him. Maybe that person is just having a bad day.
The program empowered these participants with profound breathing and meditation techniques to reduce stress, heal from trauma, and improve resilience.
We have learned that if we have peace within, we can definitely help others to get to the same place that we're in, which is peace without. And that is the extension of us, our communities, our homes, our facilities, our organizations.
Through interactive discussions and group processes, the program helped build strong bonds between LAPD officers and community members.
But one of the most important factors that I found is the interaction that I have with the residents and residents that live in this community that are experiencing the day-to-day violence that occurs here was one of the most phenomenal life-changing experiences for me, because they saw firsthand that we're human. Taking this uniform off, we face similar challenges.
Participants were trained to facilitate an introductory module on nonviolence so that they can share the benefits of the program and become ambassadors of nonviolence in their communities and neighborhoods.
I'm a role model whether I want to be or not. So a lot of people follow me down the negative path. So let me make that change and be that positive influence and provide tools for myself, because I can change somebody else. So that's why I chose to do the nonviolence ambassador training program.
Today, the 40 graduates, the people that went through the 8 weeks, I'm watching you guys today interact. I have data interventionists, officers, people from the community, and it's working. Right?
Yeah. Let's do this, man. This is what we love.
That's. I just want to let you know that I came up here to support you. To me and my brother, but we walk this path together, side by side.
Since we did it here, I think we can do it anywhere.
So that's my work in Los Angeles and many other communities. Since then, we have made a small difference. Wherever we find a Jeremy and a Mariko and a Manish, and we all leave a social trail, right? So if you follow Jeremy's Twitter, it's very clear what position he has taken in his life. And I think that is where we need to find each other. Yeah. So yoga may mean individual, selfish, self-care, but I think the community needs to come together, because together the collective voice is very much needed today. Yeah. So that's where I feel inspired every time I hear somebody like Mariko ji or Jeremy. And there are a few other people here on this chat that I also am, friends with. Nidhi is on this panel. So keep your yoga practice, but don't forget the service aspect of yoga. Yeah. So yoga is not just individual and I feel good and my immunity is good. What are we doing with that positive energy that we have? Yeah. So that is where we have to feel empowered. And that empowerment should be seen in action, not just in thoughts. So Manish ji, thank you for having this panel at a very short notice. Please guide.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Mandar. I think what you have been doing is extremely commendable. That short video, almost 5-minute video, I think brilliantly captured the power of yoga to not just transform individuals, but even communities, societies. I think that's a very important, contribution of yoga. And that is what exactly Prime Minister was saying today morning, from yoga to sahyog. I think that is what we all need to understand, and that's the best, contribution of yoga, and again, not to India, but to the entire humanity, I would say, put it that way. So thanks again for that brilliant address. With this, we open up to very brief round of Q&A. So we can begin with Himanshu Songaria, who is in fact joining us from Indore. He has just enrolled for a 1-month yoga course. So yes, Himanshu, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello everyone. Namaste. I'm doing a yoga instructor course from S. Vyasa Institute, Swami Vivekananda Institute. The thing is, like, I'm just having a kind of mixed feelings and knowledge of like many things. I'm like experiencing new things in my life. I'm like I'm actually learning to eat how to eat right, how to eat the food right now. That's these kind of things are like what I'm like experiencing. So my question is from Mariko ji. One thing I'm kind of in middle of right now is that the thing you said that we have to open up for these things, and this is the right time for the for yoga to come in front and people to know it and everything. So my question was that what the things the problems we are facing, I am facing right now. I'm gonna say for myself that I'm right now facing a lot of problems. Problems like the diet, from the diet kind of I'm experiencing. I want to take, and the people around me are not understanding that, and so many things. The Kundalini thing you said to me, and the thing I experienced with it, and the thing it is telling me to do, the thing we are all born for, you know. So those things kind of telling me to do things that this is not what you're born for, not to use technology, not to use you know, not to use the mobile phones and everything. I'm
It's challenging. It's challenging. I get it, you know, and it's to live in the real world in this digital era. How do we actually practice yoga? And sometimes it's hard in social situations, right? When you're with your, you know, maybe your family eats one kind of diet, and how do you, you know, so I think there's a skill, you know, another definition of yoga that I love is yoga is skill in action. And there is a diplomatic and kind way in which you don't, you know, you can practice, you know, you can choose to eat, say, vegetarian foods when maybe your family eats a different kind of food, or, you know, there is a way to practice it quietly on your own. And I think that we should never, nobody has a right to point to another person's plate and say, you know, you shouldn't be eating that, but we can start by changing our own diet. And, you know, and that you will start to feel that difference. So I think that you have to be proactive. Maybe, do you prepare your own food, or is it your mother or somebody in your home, or that's preparing your food?
Yes, I am kind of trying to do things for me myself right now. I have started washing my own clothes. I've started doing many things from that I do. I need for myself.
Right.
No, I believe in energies, that I should not use any other person's energy for my needs.
I think it's very Ayurvedic too, putting your own energy into your own food. That's great. And, you know, I recommend you study a little bit of Ayurvedic medicine so you can understand a little bit about what is suitable for you and what seasons, you know, and just knowing a little bit of basics of Ayurveda would really help you. But as far as mobile phones go, you know, let's face it, it's impossible to live without, you know, sometimes the device, but it's really like, is it purposeful when you're on? I think it's not that the mobile devices are bad. You know, it's an amazing technology that we have at our fingertips, but if it becomes our master, then it is bad, right? If we become slaves to the technology, then it's the other way around. So and it is a great skill and discipline to acquire, you know, to how to not become the slave of our phones, but we stay the master. So I say that, you know, it's good to have a boundary of you know, time when you come off your device completely before bed, let's say 9 p.m., you know, an hour before you go to bed. It's nice to just, you know, get away from the devices, and also create some boundaries for and make some rules for yourself that you'll follow. Like, I'm only going to, you know, use the phone for when, you know, in a purposeful way, you know, in a purposeful way, and not like be on it, like swiping all day long, right? Some people are just, you can see, like playing games. It's just infinite, you know, and all day long, the whole day can go on this device. So being purposeful about how you use that device, and actually can help you live more consciously if you use like the alarm feature to remind you. So see if you can really turn it around, so you consciously are using the device to live a more yogic life instead of the other way around.
Brilliant response, Mariko. We'll take the last question from Aditya. Aditya, please unmute yourself. Please introduce yourself. Where are you speaking from? Please unmute. Just a sec.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity, sir. My name is Aditya Kumar Singh. I'm currently pursuing my master's in international relations from JNU, and I'm speaking from JNU itself. So we just talked about the importance of food habit in a yogi's life. But I have a question, a slightly different and a very common question among our students. Like, if we are staying in a hostel, we don't get the kind of food we should actually have if we are practicing yoga. So how do we make a balance between that?
Who would like to take this? Mandar, maybe?
So I sympathize with you. The aspect of watching your diet is very important, but more important is to watch your thoughts. Yeah. So at some point of time, you may need to move to a room with a kitchen and learn how to cook your own food, or make friends with the chef in the hostel kitchen and ask him to make better food for you, special food for you. And that's where, your mind and your positive energy carries that presence. So you don't have to compromise your values. People will come, things will happen for you when your intention is good and clean. And when you are human, when you are empathetic, you build that relationship, because this world is a relationship economy. It's all about relationships. And so, I worked at a small oil company, Shell. Everybody eats meat there. And how I was able to do it? I made friends with the chef. I encouraged them to learn how to cook vegetarian food. I arranged vegetarian cooking classes. So where there is a will, there is a way. You don't lose hope just because the societal conditions are not convenient for you. Yeah. So you be strong. You hold on to your values and be kind to yourself. It's okay.
Thanks, Mandar. I think that was, again, a very interesting response. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, and I still am getting questions, lots of questions here in my cell and also in the chat box, direct messages to me. But as I said, I wish we could go on and on. All three, of you spoke so brilliantly. Each one of you really, I think opened up our minds to the world of yoga. I think that's so important. Ambassador Dinesh Patnaik, in fact, also gave a very brilliant address articulating how India is seeing it, how it is really a global public good and not something. This is actually India's treasure, a gift of sorts to the entire world. So I think this was a very well earned evening for all of us. So thanks, Mandar, for really coming up with this idea and teaming up your cities for peace with the Indian futures. And really, Mariko, thank you so much for really taking time out. We have, in fact, sort of creeped into your, Spain holiday and work both. So, and also Jeremy, thank you so much. You all have really made this a very special session. I'm sure this is going to be a truly memorable one. So thank you, ICCR, also for being very generous with everything and really taking this program to a much wider audience. And I really want to thank each one of the audiences, each one of the participants who have joined us here, who have also joined on the ICCR's official YouTube channel. And I'm sure this is really going to go places. So thank you very much, and stay safe. take care and get vaccinated as soon as possible if you haven't done yet. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Manish, and thank you, Mariko ji and Jeremy, for supporting this mission very last minute. And we inspire each other, so continue your work.
Yes, let's not lose hope. Let's not lose hope. Wherever you are, you know, yoga is such a, I think it's a wonderful thing to practice right now while you're in lockdown, you know, and cultivate yourself.
Correct. Jeremy, sending you love and peace from India.
Yes, love and peace. I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. I'm honored. I'm a young yogi, and I've learned so much today.
Hang in there. Help is
Hope
coming.
to see all of you in India sometime soon, both Jeremy and Mariko.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I was going to say.
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And it's
you.
good night to all my